this morning's webinar is in conjunction with Daiwa Foundation, PACT, which is the industry trade body, and Percy Warren and myself. Our speakers today are Jeremy Thomas, and we're being chaired by Shozo Ichiyama. Jeremy has worked with some of the world's greatest directors, including Nicholas Roeg, Bernardo Bertolucci, David Cronenberg, and Terry Gillingham. Bertolucci's The Last Emperor, produced by Jeremy, won 9 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. His love of Asian cinema drew him to Japan, where he formed a close friendship with Nagisa Oshima, making Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. He's also produced Takashi Miike. He and today's chair, Ichiyama-san, jointly produced Brother by Takeshi Kitano. Mr. Ichiyama is the program director of the Tokyo International Film Festival. He has produced Ho Shao Xian and Jia Gong Kuo. The latter's Ash is the Purest White was selected for Cannes in 2018. Thank you very much. And I'm handing over to Mr. Ichiyama now.
Hi, hello. So thank you very much for introducing me. So I'm Shozo Ichiyama, and I'm producer based in Japan. So I'm very honored to ask a question to Jeremy-san today, because I know Jeremy-san a long time, but actually there are many things I didn't ask him yet. So I'm very thrilled to be this panel. And so first, I would like to start about Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, and by Nagisa Oshima, because it is the first time that the Jeremy-san worked with a Japanese filmmaker. So, maybe first, I think it's better to watch some footages or clips of the Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.
He's dead! You! Get over here! You! Not just you. You! And you! Come here! Now! Come here! As a representative of the British Air Force, how many experts in weapons and guns do you have in your group? None, sir.
yes, please tell me. So how does this project happen? Yes, yes, please.
Well, life is, I've discovered, is a bit like a river with the confluences, and you just continue on your river. But on my river, I sat next to Oshima, Nagisa, at a ceremony at Cannes on a prize giving.
I see.
And we exchanged business cards and got a bit drunk. And that was very nice. And then about 2 years later, I received a screenplay through Michio Yoshizaki in London, which was very long and 185 pages. And by coincidence, I was going to Japan for my first trip with Nicholas Rogue's Bad Timing. And I came to Tokyo and I met with Oshima-san and Hara-san, Masato, who unfortunately just passed away. We decided to make this film. And he agreed that we could rewrite the screenplay with Paul Myersberg. And that was the beginning of it. And it was just pure chance. And that I knew a lot about Japanese cinema by then. And I liked, and I sort of had, a love for Japanese cinema already in my passion for films.
Okay. And I suppose that you worked for the casting of European actors and also as well as the finance of the film. But I also suppose that you are also deeply involved in the creative aspects of the film. And this film, that the Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, is based on the novels written by a Dutch novelist. But were you involved in the development of the script writing stages of the film? And if so, did you face any difficulty in the relation with the cultural gaps between Japan and Europe?
Well, this was the wonderful thing. This was a wonderful thing because Oshima understood that he needed a different Western point of view on it. And he was very happy to have the great writer Paul Myersberg and later the collaborators that I brought to him and the collaboration I gave him in the development of the script and the encouragement and the casting, of course, of getting David Bowie and Tom Conti and Jack Thompson into that film. That was, he said to me, you cast the Western parts because you understand what they symbolize. And that was very, very helpful. Of course, he wanted David Bowie. And Bowie already knew the films of Oshima very well. Bowie was a very sophisticated person. And he was immediately, the first time I met him, and I told him, and he said, I'm in. I want to work with Oshima, and I want to place Elliot. Especially as the book is very loved. This book is very, Sir Lawrence van der Post, whose book it is, was based on his true experience. So it was something so fascinating to have a different point of view on a prisoner of war camp film, which was really a cliche in the way of Bridge Over the River Kwai. And I thought this approach was going to be something that everybody would be very interested in. It was an amazing experience, and you can see how many people were there that came from New Zealand to this island in the Pacific, Rarotonga, and we were there because it was we could find New Zealand tax money, and we had to shoot in New Zealand, but New Zealand was had Rarotonga, which was perfect for us because it looked like where it was set, and we built a prisoner of war camp there.
Okay. So I think that yes, it was shown in the New Zealand, but main crew like DOP or some main crew came from Japan. So probably I think that the crew is mixed, Japanese crew and local crew. So,
there were people. Yeah. There was a mixture of crew. Crew came from UK. A lot of crew
UK.
came.
I see.
And so there was an art director, English art director, and various other crew that came from New Zealand, and some camera crew, and there was a good mixture of people there.
So did you face any problems between the Japanese crew and the European crew?
No, everybody was on their best behavior naturally, and became very friendly. Oshima was very, very tough with the Japanese crew, but he was very, very kind to the Western crew, and it was very different. Was quite funny seeing him turn to the Japanese crew and speak to them in a very strict way, and then turn to the British crew and speak to them in a very soft way. He understood that it was fascinating to watch, and the DOP was a very interesting character who had been in the Second World War, active, and he was an amazing character, and he knew really how to use the sword. And when it wasn't being correctly used, especially in the scenes of the harakiri scene, he would come and he came and showed exactly the actor, this is the way you do it. And it was a fantastic experience.
Oh, good. And also now I would like to ask about the two main Japanese actors, and Takeshi Kitano and Ryuichi Sakamoto. So both are very excellent. But I understand that it was Ryuichi Sakamoto's first acting in the film. And Takeshi Kitano was already super popular as a comedian, but I don't think he had a good experience of the acting before. And I think at that time I thought that it's very brave decisions to cast kind of the non-professional actors for these two main roles. And so please tell me something about the background of this Japanese casting. So was it the first choice of Oshima to cast Sakamoto or Takeshi Kitano, or were there any other choices? And then so what was the background of the Japanese casting?
When I arrived, when I started talking to Oshima about the project, he already had these characters set in his mind.
Yeah.
And he wanted Ryuichi, of course, to do the music, and Ryuichi was slightly resistant at the beginning, and then Oshima told him how he wanted to make the score, and then Kitano was always, he wanted, because of his face. Oshima wanted his face at the end of the film. He said his face is so perfect. And I think that the acting, like Tom Conti, the scenes with Tom Conti, that actors can help each other work, and be very and be good. And I think they helped each other to be very good, because Tom Conti was a fine actor, but he didn't speak Japanese, and he learned it phonetically. And it was very interesting seeing that work.
See. And okay, and also I'd like to ask about the Ryuichi Sakamoto, because you after this film, you produced The Last Emperor in 1987. So Ryuichi Sakamoto is again the main actor, and not main actor, some supporting actor, and also that he did the music again, and so it was very good music, and he won the Oscars, so this is for the Last Emperors, and I think that the director is Bertolucci, so I would like to ask you about how that the collaboration with Bertolucci and Sakamoto at the time, and so it will also continue to the Shattering Sky, your next film.
And many other films with Ryuichi, but I mean, he is a professor, and he is a, he's a, once you meet him, he's so wonderful as a person. He gave so much in Send You a Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas to Lawrence. He gave so much. And I understood that he had something very special, and I suggested to Bernardo that he played Amaterasu in The Last Emperor.
Yeah.
And whilst we were in Manchuria, whilst we were in there working, we needed a piece of music for the ball that was happening, for this the second coronation ball. And he said to Ricci, go and record a piece of music. So Ricci went to the local studio where there was ancient recording equipment and recorded this incredible piece of music. And Bernardo said after that, "Oh, I want you to do the score." But it was my plan always to get Ricci to do the score, because he's so such a wonderful composer, and unusual to find a wonderful composer like that, who's so collaborative. And then Bernardo chose to continue working with him on his future films.
So okay, so I think that we will go to the next films, and it's Takeshi Kitano's brother. So so maybe can we see some clip from Brother?
So do you think you get away with what you did?
What are you gonna do? Go to war with us?
We'd wipe you out.
Bring it on. Come on.
Just relax. We're kidding. Let's discuss this like gentlemen, yeah? We'll give you the territory. We didn't like those guys anyway. From now on, you're gonna be in charge, just as it always was. You don't have any objection to that, right?
Okay, we accept.
You told them you'd let them have the territory. Now, why would you do that for these fucking Japs?
Why not? We're gonna massacre them all later anyway.
パッキングギャップぐらいわかるよバカ野郎。
Okay. And so I will speak something about something about brothers. So after Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, and so Takeshi Kitano is more involved in the filmmaking. And in 1989, he made a first directorial debut films and Violent Cops, which I'm one of the producers, and then then he continued making the film and his film titled Hanabi, which won the Golden Lion in Venice in 1997. Then brother, then after Hanabi, after Hanabi, and he made another film called Kikujiro. Then it's a kind of comedy, and then the brother came. So and the brother is Takeshi Kitano's 8th feature films and as a director, and it is the first first film he shot outside Japan. So it was most of the scene was shot in the U.S. and California. So it's the first, maybe first, and by now the only one film which is shot outside Japan. And so of course, Jeremy-san, and you watch any of Takeshi Kitano's films before you decide to work with him. So please tell me, so how is your impression of Takeshi Kitano as a director, and please also tell me how this project started.
Well, of course, during the making movies on a desert island, you become friendly with all the people you work with. And I started a sort of semi-friendship with Kitano. And when I was in Tokyo, we used to have dinner together. And then at one point he said, I'm thinking of making a film in America in English. And I said, I'm there. I'm going to do that with you. And we started with you and Morris-san. We started building the production. I took care of the American section, and then we sort of put it together financially, and we took the film to Cannes, and it was very enjoyable, the whole making of it. And having Kitano in America, in downtown LA, was and shooting that film there with Omar Epps, it was a new experience of working another sort of film, but still, another experience for me over the way of Japanese cinema.
Yes, and actually, so I'm also a film producer. I know that it's a very big difference between the shooting in US and shooting in Japan. And when Japanese filmmakers shoot a film in US, usually they will face many difficulties in production custom. And for example, there was a regulation by the unions, both actors or crews, or I think that the film was shot under the completion bond. So in this case, there's many restrictions, the many things to do. And how did you solve these difficulties? Or was it easy for you to shoot this film?
Well, I had very good collaborators always, who try and get very good collaborators who have got understanding of everything. And I had a very good collaborator in Anne Carley, who's sort of bilingual.
Anne Carley,
Anne Carley, who lives in LA, who's part Japanese. And she worked with me on many films, and I'm going to work with her again soon. So her production was handled very well in America, and all those complexities. And the film was made in a traditional way in America for me. But you just have to take care of all those complications. And then in Japan, when we work in Japan, of course, you have to do it the Japanese way. And where many make mistakes in coming to Japan to make films, they don't respect the incredible abilities of Japanese filmmakers to make films just as well as anywhere in the world. And it's unnecessary. And you just have to try and understand that it's all going to be the same. And it's very important not to try and force a methodology on the filmmaking that you've got conceived. You need to go with the way of the place you're working in. And I've done that all over the world. And that's the way I like to work. And it's more interesting working like that.
See. Okay. And also now I'll just ask a question about some financing of the films, because I'm also involved in the film. I know something about the financing, but the film is the total budget was like $10 million US, or maybe just less than $10 million US.
It was 8 million.
Yeah.
I think it was 8 million US.
8 million, yes, 8 million, yes, and half were brought by the office Kitano. So we find at that time we find the money from Japanese investors, and half of the money is you invested, and you did the world series of the films. And how was the result? And I know that the result was very good, but I would like to hear this how did you sell this film to Europe or US?
Well, I mean, this was a long time ago. I've forgotten what the date we made this film, but the film business has changed so much. Yeah. And I said, I mean, if you can believe that, I covered it when we made our agreement. We signed an agreement in Tokyo. I went back to London, and I found the money within a week with 2 phone calls. I phoned my friends in Sony in America and told them about the film, sent them the script, and in France the same, with my colleague and my partner there, and we put the money together between us, and that was just 2 phone calls. But today I couldn't do it. It would be impossible for me to achieve that because of the maybe I could achieve that with Bong Joon-ho, but not there's very few directors in the world that you could achieve that with today, because it's a different place. It's a different place for the sort of cinema I make.
I see. Okay. Actually, I think I remember that we showed some clips in Cannes Film Festival, which is just exactly the same scenes. And we showed it in the markets, and I thought it worked well. So how did you see?
Yeah, I think the film it went very well in the selection, and then I think the film we made money going into the film. On that film, I think we made a profit going into the film, and I don't think we made any profit coming out of the film. I don't think it was one of those films that you made the profit going into it, because it was the market was very different then, and you could sell a film if it was a very attractive film for more than it cost. And today it's not the same.
Okay. Yes. So then, not so much time left. So now I'll move to the third films, which is on third Japanese filmmaker Takashi Miike, so please show the clip of the 13 Assassins. It's in it from 2010. So, and this film, Study Assassins, is a remake of the very legendary Japanese epic movies in 1970s, and it is your first collaboration with Takashi Miike and also the producer Toshiaki Nakazawa, so who is a president of SEDIC International, but unlike Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence or The Brother, the film does not have any Western elements in the story or casting, and actually the film is looks like a pure Japanese film. And so please tell me how this collaboration started, and so what was the main reason for you to decide to produce this film? So when you were you interested in the Miike's talents, or were you more interested in the subject?
No, I really like the films of Miike, and I was looking to work with him before 13 Assassins, and I had a Tanizaki book that I had a screenplay of, and the Secret Life of the Lord of Musashi, and it's an incredible book, unfilmable book, like a lot of the books I like to try and adapt. So it's an unfilmable book. And I had a screenplay, and my good friend Tetsu Fujimura, who is my good colleague in Japan, Tetsu, and he arranged a meeting for me in Venice with him. I had a film in Venice, forgotten which film, in competition, and Miike-san, and we had a nice meal together, and I gave him the screenplay, and then I got a response from him saying, well, I don't know that I can do this screenplay, but I would love to work with you. And would you work with Nakazawa-san and SEDIC to this film, and we can work together. And that led to a long collaboration with him and Nakazawa and with other producers in Japan. I think that we had a different point of view on the film a bit. So there was a little bit of that, and the presentation of the film in a slightly different way. We managed to sort of bring the film into quite a big audience in the rest of the world, and that was a good process for us, and it continued.
Yes. And I think that the film was selected in the competition in the Venice Film Festival, and I heard that the world sales of the film was very good, very quite successful. But what do you think that the reason of this international success? So which aspect of the film was welcomed by the Western audiences?
Well, I think it was very pure. I think it was a very, very pure subject, and it gave a very full meal of Japanese samurai culture with it really echoes Kurosawa's great samurai films in the way that sort of seriousness of it. Plus, as you can see from that clip, well, it was hard to really see it, but Miike-san's shooting style, I really appreciated. And I've worked with great stylist filmmakers in the past, and I look for a filmmaker who's a stylist. As a producer, I'm looking for somebody with a style, with an impact, and that's the sort of directors that the Oshima and Kitano, and then I found Miike, and like the other directors that I've worked with, Cronenberg, etc. They're sort of impact directors who can give a style to the film. And that film, 13 Assassins, has such a super Japanese style to it, and wonderful costumes and wonderful sets. And it was very well produced by SEDIC in their studio situation they have in Yamagata province. They have a valley with river and some sets and forests, and it is a very good place to make movies.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that there should be the time for the audiences and who have the question to Jeremy-san. But the next one is my last question. Actually, in Japan, there are not so many producers who are willing to work with the foreign filmmakers. Actually, I'm one of the rare cases. So, many people ask me, why are you working with the foreign filmmakers? Why you're not working for the Japanese filmmakers? But when I was movie fans, and I watched many of the Jeremy-san produced films with very different countries filmmakers. And I thought it is a natural, but I think that in Europe, of course, some producers are working like this, but not so many. And did you intend to work with foreign filmmakers rather than British filmmakers?
I just happened, it wasn't a set plan, but I started. I traveled a lot as a boy with my father, who was a film director.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel very English, but I'm a sort of different sort of English. That I'm a sort of English traveler, and I love to travel the world and challenge and take on the other cultures. And also it's very, very competitive in the UK to making British cinema, and it's not the area that I've been interested in that. I've been interested in I've been following what I've been really interested in, and like myself, rather than following a marketplace. And it's allowed me to continue. I mean, it's not a very, I don't know whether it was a very perfect idea, but I thought at a certain point, well, I'm just going to make films that really attract me culturally, and the stories, and then I discovered, well, it's quite interesting putting together countries and the money from those various places, and I found it stimulating, and I don't mind working in other languages. I speak a couple of languages badly, but I don't speak Japanese, which I should do by now, or Chinese. But I can be an operator. I don't feel any loss. I can find the way through that, and I've been lucky by that I'm able to do that. I know that.
Okay.
But I love being in Asia, and I love being in Japan, and people feel that you like working, and you enjoy the whole experience of that filmmaking experience. And I had a fantastic welcome from everybody. Every time.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Great. Well, we've hit 1 o'clock, I'm afraid, so we'll wrap it up at that point. Thank you so much to both of you, Jeremy and Ichiyama-san, for a really fascinating discussion, and lots of bad language in the clips, I'm afraid. And thanks also to Catherine, but thank you from Catherine Parsons and Pact and Percy Warren, also to the two speakers for taking part in this. And thank you so much, all of you, for joining us, and hope to see you at future Daiwa Foundation events.